Hey, everybody, it's Dave here, and Darren over there. What will the Vikings do at quarterback? Welcome back to another episode of Two Old Bloggers with your host, Darren, and me, Dave. We're here to delve into the deep thoughts and deep questions that concern your Minnesota Vikings. In this episode, we tackle the burning question on everybody's mind. What will the Vikings do at quarterback? We scrutinize the performance of Joshua Dobbs and his terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, along with Jaren Hall and Nick Mullens, and discuss the possibility of change at the helm. We also shine a light on the leadership of head coach Kevin O'Connell. We'll explore his triumphs, his tribulations, and the areas we believe he can improve. Yes, there is room for improvement, folks, particularly in his late game strategies and play calling. Lastly, as we enter the Vikings at the bye week, we've got a round of quick hitters, where we're going to discuss a range of topics, including Jordan Addison's performance, the team's playoff chances, and the key injuries impacting the squad. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and let's dive in to another exciting round of Two Old Bloggers. Vikings First and SKOL presents This Week in Vikings Land with Darren and Dave, your two old bloggers.
I think it's fine.
Hey, everybody. I was just asking, am I too soft? Am I not loud enough? I can crank it up just a bit, but there's not much more I can do. Maybe move the microphone a little bit closer. We can get real intimate here. Hey.
Davey.
I want to welcome everybody to the show. Davey Chains, Justin, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you, Justin. I hope you are listening to wonderful music tunes that you're going to send me later. And we have Pat Cat. Welcome, Pat Cat. My worthless opinion, greatest handle on the internet. Dr. Proto is in the house. We always love to see the doc. Our community is wonderful, folks. Absolutely wonderful. Anthony Tollinson, glad to have you here. And he says, but at least FSU won't let us down or let him down.
Remains to be seen.
We'll find out. And everybody's saying hi to each other, which is fantastic. And there's my buddy, my pal, fellow offensive lineman, big round belly, Yogi is in the house. Raymond. And who else am I missing? Anybody else? Let's see as I scroll down on the remarks. Sorry, folks. Running a little bit behind today, but that happens. Darren, how are things in the great white north? Hey there, Mafia.
They're okay, Dave. I'm doing a little bit of Christmas shopping today at various markets going on around the city. Jonathan from Brazil is in the house as well. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, everything's going fine. It's I don't know about you, Dave, but like bye weeks, I get everybody's opinion on this. Bye weeks, when the Vikings lose heading into the bye week, I'm like a dog who wants to gnaw on an injured leg or something. Like I'm just like,
I agree with you.
Can we play next so we can get rid of that bad taste in my mouth? And we got to wait like 13 days for them to play. It just kills me.
And there was definitely a bad taste after that. Hi, Bob. Welcome to the show. All right, we're going to start off as
My
normal.
head's out right now.
As normal with Team 1.
Yeah.
I was just thinking I should change that up someday and start with Team 3 just to mess everybody's heads with their heads.
Yeah.
Theme 1, what will they do next?
At quarterback. Yeah, we're going to delve into the question that everybody, every Vikings fan, every Vikings beat writer has been talking about this week. A subject that cannot be avoided, Dave. After Josh Dobbs, horrible, terrible, no good,
very bad
day, night, Monday nighter against the Vikings, where and you know, I do want to say that you know, Dobbs did not get a whole lot of help in that game from his teammates. There's passes bouncing off wide receivers' hands. The offensive line had its worst pass game and pass protection in quite a while.
But they still ranked number 1 in PFF.
Well, I don't know.
And
okay.
Pass protection. But it was a bad game, yes.
That wasn't what I saw. And I've heard, you know, people like Jeremy Siles and Alex Boone were talking about that Darisaw and O'Neal had their worst game of the year in that game.
Either one of those guys having a bad game is a bad thing.
Yes.
But when both have it at the same time.
And surprising, because even with the Bears having Montez Sweat, their pass rush has not been that great even up to that point, but they didn't have to blitz anybody. They were getting lots of pressure with 4 guys against the Vikings. So there was that issue. And, you know, maybe Kevin O'Connell and Wes Phillips did not do a very good job with game planning. They didn't develop a game plan that suited Josh Dobbs' strengths, and they didn't have any answers for what Chicago was doing, the Chicago defense was doing during the game. So, I feel that, again, Dobbs did not get much help from his coaches and his teammates in this game. Having said that, he played the worst game I've seen a Vikings quarterback play in a long time. That rivals some of the Christian Ponder games that we saw in 2012 and 2013. And that game cannot be unseen. Dave.
Little steel wool to the eyeballs.
Yeah. Put on your hair, shirt, whatever you want to do. So the question becomes, what do the Vikings do after that game? And, just listen to Kevin O'Connell after the Monday night game and Tuesday morning in his presser, and he sounded like a guy that is just about ready to move on from Josh Dobbs. And I can understand that. Although Will Raggets, who's of course a beat writer with Sports Illustrated, I thought he made a pretty interesting point that's worth thinking about on Twitter X on Tuesday, where he kind of said, I don't think the Vikings should overreact to this one bad game by Dobbs. They need to take the bye week, work on coaching up Dobbs and getting him comfortable on timing and rhythm stuff and the short, easy passes, and work on ways to counteract what Chicago did to the Vikings Monday night, because other teams are going to try to copy that because it was so successful. And, that is something that I think you need to think about, because if you look at Dobbs' 4 games, certainly the first 2, he's a big reason why the Vikings won those games against Atlanta and New Orleans. There's no doubt about it. The Denver game, they lost, but really the offense moved the ball well. They outgained the Broncos by over about 100 yards in total offense. And people are going to say, yeah, but he had the 2 turnovers. Well, yes, he did. There was one was a fumble, but the interception that was on Ty Chandler. We talked about that last week. Whiffed on the pass block. Dobbs is back, doesn't see the pass rusher coming. They hit his arm as he's about to throw. It creates a moon ball that gets intercepted. I don't put that turnover on Josh Dobbs. So really, I think in 3 of the 4 games, he's played pretty well and done enough for the Vikings to win. But again, that 4th game cannot be unseen. You can't have 4 turnovers. Again, some question about the Addison interception. Was that Addison's fault or was that Dobbs' fault? I think that was more Addison. Excuse me. But still, again, Kevin O'Connell's comments. Kevin O'Connell is a guy who I've never heard him in the 2 years that he's been our head coach. He's usually avoids us, talking about getting into if a player has a bad game, whether he's going to lose his starting job. He does not, hang players out to dry. And so for him to say after Monday night and say, I'm not committing to Dobbs as a starter going forward, and then admitting that, I considered switching to Mullens in the second half because things weren't going bad. And then for him to say later, we're going to start the guy that maximizes Justin Jefferson. Well, again, those comments were very telling to me from a guy like, again, Kevin O'Connell, who usually doesn't get into like who's going to start, who's not going to start, those kind of conversations. So the question becomes, he looks like a guy that's about to move on from Josh Dobbs. And the question becomes, well, okay, who is that going to be? I'm seeing, I've seen some people online talk about how the Vikings need to go to Jaren Hall. He looks solid in his time. And, the Vikings got to see what they have in Hall going into the draft. I can understand that. I can understand that line of thinking. I'm not seeing that happening in this case because if the Vikings were 3-9 or they were 4-8 out of the playoff picture, then I think it makes sense to try Jaren Hall and see what you've got. But if you're a 6-6, you've got a wild card spot right now. You're currently 6th seed in the NFC. Are you really going to turn the keys to your season over to a 5th round draft pick who you had no intentions of playing at the start of the season and who's only played 5 offensive series? And what has he done in those 5 offensive series? Let's go over it. First one against Green Bay, strip sack. Packers recover deep in our territory. Not Hall's fault because Darren whiffed on a pass block badly on that one, but that's what happened. Second drive against the Packers, he made a nice pass to Hawkinson, got us a key offensive first down, killed the clock. The next 3 plays were 3 and out. Third drive, victory formation. Doesn't have to do anything. Fourth offensive drive against Atlanta, 3 and out. Fifth offensive drive, he led us to a field goal, nice drive, then gets out with a concussion, hasn't been seen since. So I don't know what you can really glean from that, Dave, in 5 offensive drives. Not very much. And I would just be, I just don't see Kevin O'Connell and the offensive staff going with Hall again with the Vikings in the position that they're at. So that leaves, I think the play really is, if you're looking at somebody who can maximize Justin Jefferson's ability and when he gets back, I think that Nick Mullens is probably going to be the play here. He's much more of a traditional drop back passer like Kirk Cousins. Yes, you lose the dual threat mobility issue, stuff that you had with Dobbs and you have to a certain degree with Jaren Hall. And that is not insignificant, as we've seen with some of the plays Hall has made with his feet in the 4 games. But, maybe he's a little bit better decision maker than Dobbs or Hall. Yeah, not going to turn the ball over as much. Might be able to get the ball to Justin Jefferson more often than Hall or Dobbs would. And again, he was your backup during the season. If he doesn't have a back injury, he is starting the game against Atlanta, not Jaren Hall. So what has changed in that time? If you're going to replace Dobbs, unless O'Connell and Phillips have seen some humongous growth from Jaren Hall in the past 4 weeks, and keep in mind, he didn't really practice very much the previous couple of weeks because he was in concussion protocol. So then, again, what has changed? If Mullens is your backup and you're moving on from Dobbs, then it feels like Mullens is going to be the guy that's going to take over and play against the against, and I'm drawing a blank here, but he's going to play the next game. And Dave, I think you're on mute there, but he's going to be the guy that they're going to bring in. I think that is something that is not going to excite Vikings fans, and they're not going to be very happy with it. But I think that is, if Kevin O'Connell is going to change the quarterback, I think that Nick Mullens is the guy you're going to see going in there, not Jaren Hall. And if they do go with Jaren Hall and he goes 11 for 32, throws 150 yards, a couple of picks, and we lose badly, everybody's going to be like, how come you didn't put in Mullens? Terrible job. KOC's horseshit, all that sort of stuff. So, I think I think Mullens is the guy. He's thrown for over 5,000 yards in his career. He's got 16, 17 starts in the NFL. Hasn't played much since 2020, but he's got much more experience and a bigger track record than Jaren Hall has. Still can't hear you, Dave. I don't know what's going on. And yes, Mullens does turn the ball over quite a bit. His touchdown to interception ratio was not very good, but he did a lot of that on a 49ers team that wasn't very good back in 2018, I believe, too. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, turnovers have been a worry no matter who has been quarterback this year for the Vikings, though, whether it's Cousins, Hall, Josh Dobbs, and Mullens if he plays. Sorry, everyone. I'm not sure if it's just me who can't hear Dave or everybody else can't hear him, but trying to work on the technical issues. Could try to restart and fire it up again. I don't know. And hope that people come back to tune in. We got one theme down. We just need two more.